evening and welcome to Dark Hour Paranormal. I am your host, Michael Roser. Tonight, folks, we're going to dig into a different aspect of this field, something that we've covered sporadically, peppered amongst the other conversations that we've had, but we're going to go a bit in depth when it comes to what we consider esoteric healing. Now, tonight with me in the studio, I have Maribeth Beauchamp, and she's going to be talking to us at length about her experience, her teachings in these modalities that we understand. And of course, we're going to learn tonight what full spectrum energy healing is. Now, you could infer, of course, by the name, but to be quite honest with you, it's never a safe bet to assume some of these topics at large when it comes to this type of thing, because we are so involved in what we're working with in the way of healing in the world of esoterics. I say esoterics again, I'm going to fall off my chair. But that being said, I want to read a little bio about Maribeth Beauchamp, and we're going to bring her on in just a moment, but let me bring this out to you. Oh, by the way, just to let you know, she does run a fantastic website. All of her services are available at Phoenix Rising Energy Healing, and you can go and check that out. Of course, the link is in the description if you're interested. She's local in Massachusetts. I say local to me because it's literally my backyard. But certainly, check out what she has, and of course, you're going to learn a lot about her tonight as time goes on. So without further ado here, Maribeth Beauchamp is a certified intuitive master, full spectrum energy healer, and Reiki master. As a graduate-level student from the Rhys Institute of Energy Medicine, she was drawn to learn more about energy healing work after her own experience with illness. Learning how to heal herself inspired her to learn how to heal others. Maribeth learned the root cause of her illness and now can assist others in their own healing journey through the gift of full-spectrum healing, energy healing. Maribeth has a bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science in Cytotechnology from the University of Connecticut. She also holds a veterinary and animal science degree from Holyoke Community College. I knew I was going to mess this word up. As a cytotechnologist, so sorry, Maribeth diagnosed cancer for 25 years. Her medical background helps her to better facilitate your healing experience from her knowledge of anatomy and physiology. Now, one thing I'd like to point out very quickly about Maribeth and others who have been in a similar position within the medical field. Now, perhaps your life's journey is to work with healing energy and, Reiki and some of these other modalities. Perhaps that's the bent. But we understand that people hold many different paths. So if you're in the medical field, you're still healing, okay? You're doing it on a physical level. You're healing the physical, you're addressing the physical, but you're still healing. You're still a healer. So we take it a step further, and we go into the realm that perhaps Maribeth traverses in way of what she does today. You guys are going to love her story. You're going to love her insight and knowledge. And I'm not going to tripping over my own tongue here. I'm not going to make you wait much longer here. Everybody, I'd like you to know Maribeth Beauchamp. Maribeth, how are you tonight? Thank you so much for being on the show with us here.
Thank you so much, Michael. My name is Maribeth Beauchamp, and I am a full spectrum healer. Mm-hmm. I've kind of put together a talk of what full spectrum energy healing is. I wanted to tell my story first, mm-hmm. to let you know how I got into energy healing. If it looks like I'm reading, I am.
It's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Graduated with a BS in cytotechnology and worked 25 years in hospital settings as a cytotechnologist. You're wondering, what the heck is that? A cytotechnologist is someone who sits at a microscope 8 hours a day, screening pap smears, which that may be antiquated by now because that was 25 years ago, and non-GYN cytology, which is anything in the body other than pap smears. And we're looking for cancer when we screen these specimens. I know my normal physiology, body anatomy, and what normal tissue looks like and what cancer looks like. I use, and as Michael just said, I use that in my healing. I know where your organs are. Basically, my story, I got sick in 2007 with an illness called multiple chemical sensitivity. And that's not well known. What you're probably saying, what is that? Years ago, there was a movie called The Boy in the Blue Bubble. It's where you're so sensitive that you have to be in an absolute clean room. You can't be out in the normal environment with paint, new construction, new cars that have to off gas. Your immune system is so sensitive that you can't tolerate any of those new things that have to off gas. And basically, the only cure is to stay away from new and potent chemicals. Even construction materials with like mildewcide in it, everything has to be natural. You have to do an organic diet because of preservatives in food. Everything like that, it's debilitating, and it's very hard to live with. And most people don't understand it because you look like you're normal. The concept, my doctors, and for people who have this, the one doctor that can help you is somebody that called functional medicine. And functional medicine doctors usually are allergists, and they understand MCS because it is a type of chemical allergy. I tested highly allergic to mold. I developed inflammatory bowel syndrome as well as MCS while I was working with chemicals in the laboratory of the hospitals that I worked in, and this got me sick. And that's when your immune system is compromised enough that your immune system breaks down. It's like I've been described MCS. It's a rain barrel full of completely full of water. One drop of water in that rain barrel, and the whole thing spills over. So one small exposure chemically can just trigger you to be severely sick. And chemicals, if you're that allergic to it, they're poison to you. So stay home, folks, if you have it.
Let me ask you very quickly, this is something that somebody can develop over time or if exposed to a great amount of chemicals, correct?
It develops over time. You have to have a precursor factor, like being allergic to mold, and usually it occurs in people that are allergic to mold. And I had always loved, I'm getting into energy healing. I had always loved Reiki, and I was receiving Reiki treatments while I was sick. Let's see. Part of the reason that I was trying to just get this in remission and continue my career. One night, it was winter, I was working in Boston, and I was trying to get my illness in remission, and the job was stressful. I literally would walk back roads to be away from car exhaust, stuff like that. I had got to my car, and there was this big Volvo, gave me a big exhaust of diesel in the face when the car was backing up. And the lights went black. Everything went black, and I passed out. And I just passed out. It was like shutting a light switch. Everything was dark. I woke up half an hour later on the ground in the ice and the snow. And I went, oh my God, what happened? My MCS had reached the point where there was no turning back. And that's when I realized that I was too sick to continue on my career. And that broke my heart. But I realized everything happens for a reason. Being this sick, what can I do about this? How can I live my life? Full-blown MCS symptoms are nausea, dizziness, headaches, loss of short-term memory, and they call that brain fog. And finally, you pass out. You can't.
Let me ask you this very quickly too, because for some of us, this is the first introduction that we've heard to an affliction like this. If you had an opinion, I don't know if you know the statistics, but how many, in percentage, would you say, how many people does this particular condition affect, either nationwide or worldwide? It seems to be something more seldom. Okay.
I really don't know. It's a disability that's not well known, but it's a silent disability because people don't talk about it. It's got a stigma to it. People say, especially they say, oh, she's got a mental health issue or something, or because they don't understand it.
But this is a medical diagnosis. I mean, you've had professionals tell you, so that's really odd that people would
I was
stretch
fortunate
that.
to have a medical background to explore what was going wrong with me, and I finally found MCS was the correct diagnosis, and I found the right doctors. I didn't give up. I went through doctor to doctor until I found the right people that were able to help me. Supplements, everything. So basically, I turned to energy healing for treatment. I realized I could heal myself with Reiki. I studied Ryoho Reiki method, which for Reiki 1. I went for disability and got disability. Basically, I loved the energy, the Reiki. I felt clean after each healing. So basically, I was working with somebody in Framingham, and she recommended somebody who was a 30-year psychic in Hopkinton, or Holliston, I'm sorry. And I started to see her. Her name was Lisa Campion. She was also the dean of students at an energy healing school. And within 1 year, I entered that school, and that school was the Rhys Thomas Institute of Energy Medicine. And it was a 3-year school, but I also stayed for grad year because I didn't feel I was quite ready to go out and work as an energy healer quite yet. We studied full spectrum energy healing. That uses the chakra system to heal. We study something called profiles, which Rhys helped to develop. It's Rhys Thomas is the founder and the teacher of the school. There's 5 different soul types. There's also secondary profiles or soul types. So you have a main soul type and a secondary soul type. Then there's the chakra system. Then there's archetypes, which are like a flavor of what the soul type or the chakra is.
Now, to point out where you're going next is some of the foundation and the grounding, the detail in the work that you do. And before you go down that road, I do have a quick question from Mikey Gematria. And I love the C-clef, brother. Put that bass in your voice. He says, when performing Reiki, is it a meditation primarily used to heal?
No. It is a meditation. You're a conduit. Basically, you're a conduit receiving the energy and projecting it into the client. I actually concentrate on what the healing directs me to do that I've learned. With Reiki, it is a meditation. You just go where you feel the energy leads you. With full spectrum, there's actual steps to the healing. You're using chakra energy to heal. Reiki, you're using the just pure Reiki energy, and you go where you feel, where you're divinely sensed. With full spectrum, I'm actually following steps in an established healing.
So there's a structure. There's more of a structure to it. Let me ask you this too. It just came to mind. I've experienced something that's similar. I wouldn't say it's full on what I'm going to ask you, but when you get into these states of mind, we'll say, and you're doing your healing with a client, and your body itself is relaxing. I mean, one of the things I understood is getting into energy work is that when you give a healing, you're also receiving a healing yourself from the source, if you will. Have you ever felt yourself sort of pop out of your body or get so relaxed you start to literally leave, and yet there's something automatic about what's going on in the physical?
Wow. No.
Okay.
I have to know what I'm doing. I have to be conscious in full spectrum. I have to be conscious of each step. But that does happen when I do distance healing. I was going to talk about it later on, but basically, I'm going to talk about it later on. My guides, which are guardian angels, they do the healing. I'm just a conduit. I hold my energy space. In distance healings, they really work. The client has to be open-minded in order to let this work. If you are negative, I don't believe in this, it won't work. You have to be open to let the guides come to you. So in distance healing, I picture the person in my mind. I picture in my mind extending the energy field around my client, and my guides will say, we're here, we're ready. And then literally I see my angels around my client holding hands. They use divine energy to do the healing. And I feel like when I receive a healing, I feel like I'm receiving energy around my body. I feel lighter. I feel like I'm floating. And as I move up and float, I feel like I'm in water. Then I feel like I'm sinking a little bit. And then I feel like I'm surrounded by an energy pillow. And then I feel divine energy within me. And
I
that's
could,
what the client will feel when I do distance healing, because that's what I feel when I receive distance healing.
that's
So
amazing.
distance healing really does work. And
It's amazing too, because a lot of people validate an experience, especially when it comes to something so intangible, or we'll say it that way, as Reiki or energy healing in general. They want to be able to feel something, and if they don't feel something, regardless of the expectation going into the session,
Mhm.
they generally feel like something hasn't worked. Now, we know that this is not necessarily the case. There is
Right.
still something happening on, let's say, a subatomic level. Perhaps it's more subtle than what you're perceiving, but
Okay.
that being said, that's what it is. Now, because we're on the subject, and another question came in again from Mikey. He's asking about peripheral objects. Do you use crystals when surround yourself with crystals? Do you use any
No.
sage or anything like that to
I will
enhance your
use
environment?
sage, but I will bless and purify the room with spray sage.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of the healers that I know, it's medicine flower sacred sage. Can you see
Mm-hmm.
that?
Oh, it's a spray.
It's a spray.
Interesting.
I'm trying to get it in the camera. There it is. I also saw a psychic in the shop that I work out of, and she actually talks to archangels. And I did a psychic reading with her, and Archangel Michael speaks for me. She creates sprays that are blessed by the archangel. So I use this is blessed holy water essentially, because it was
Mm-hmm.
blessed by Archangel Michael. I use that as well, and I say a prayer, and I say nothing negative can penetrate. This healing is for the highest good of my client. And
And
then
that is
at
your
the end,
preparation.
I bless them again with sage.
And you close out the session,
Yes.
essentially, right?
Yeah.
And that is important too. You can't leave one of these open. Well, you can,
No.
but there will be consequences, perhaps not so desirable.
Right. I've never had anything negative. I know I'm protected in the light. My guides tell me that I'm protected in the light. So I have that filter of divine energy protecting me when I heal and throughout my life, because I am an oral psychic. I hear my guides. I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm protected by them. And that's a gift that I'm amazed and blessed to have had. And I was going to tell later how I got that.
Sure.
But
Yes, absolutely.
all right. We're going back to how I'm going to talk about the profiles, which are the 5 soul types. Every one of us has a soul type. Um, let's see. In school we studied full spectrum energy healing using the chakra system to heal. We studied the profiles. Okay, there's 5. And this is again from Rhys Thomas School, Institute of Energy Medicine. There's a creative idealist, there's emotional intelligence specialist, there's a team player, there's knowledgeable achiever, there's charismatic leader, and I'm a charismatic leader. Basically, each one of these, you have a main soul type and you have a secondary soul type that follows that. Creative idealist is a thinker, creator, a visionary. Most creative thinkers, you have a creative and dynamic mind in a constant state of expansion. Mystics, artists, scientists, what else? Transcendent, able to hold both spiritual and material realms. Emotional intelligence specialists, you're very emotional. You're a feeler, you're a lover. Okay, I'm just reading on the screen there. You know who you are and why you're here. They have the support divinely so that they can live it. They have deep compassion for all. They have love and appreciation of beauty. A team player is a nurturer or a caretaker. They are supportive, serving families, nations, support others in achieving greatness, compassionate caregiver. Knowledgeable achievers are doers and achievers. They're masterful, they're organized, successful, people who complete difficult tasks, and help remind everyone else of the big picture. like a CEO. They have a natural authority and a mental brilliance. Charismatic leaders are the only one of the 5 soul types that can mimic each one of the other 4. So, charismatic leader, I really have to pay attention to what frame of mind I'm in, because I could be in one of the other 4 soul types without realizing it. So I really had to learn in the school who and what soul type I was, what are my characteristics, my personality traits, so that I could realize at what part, where am I? And when I do a healing, what soul type am I in? I usually try to, so charismatic leader.
I have a question about your archetypes, if I could just interject for just a moment. But before I ask you that, I wanted to address this comment by Lightning the Dark Remote Viewing. He says, I have felt energy from a distance healing session, but it didn't help me with my health problems. All right, what I wanted to say about this, and obviously feel free to piggyback on this as well. When you align yourself for healing, first of all, it's really important to understand why you are in the condition you are in. Maybe you would need help with that to understand, because most of this trauma and physical expression starts emotionally somewhere. It's harbored within the body and then eventually outwardly expresses itself as negative energy, basically pulls up in one area of your arc field or even closer to the physical.
You're talking and physical energy, traumatic past negative energy.
So what I'm suggesting is that many of the diseases or the dis-eases, breaking down the word, are created by emotional states or traumas that have been neglected for many years, or perhaps even coming in from a different lifetime. You're carrying this still, but you have this element to heal in this lifetime, not to walk around dragging your knuckles as a victim.
That's correct.
What I'm really kind of driving at here, Lightning, is that there may be certain health conditions, and let's step away from what I just mentioned a moment ago in terms of it accumulating in this lifetime. We may have agreements or contracts to experience certain sicknesses, and it may not even just be for our experience. It could be for the experience of those around you. So when you step into some of these healing sessions, the first thing that I've always done was to gain permission from the guides of the one that I'm working on, even before stepping into that session and, going through the motions. What they're going to do is give you as much as you're allowed to work with, given your particular contract. So let's say you have a bum arm, and this has been bothering you your whole life. It might not just be about covering that up and trying to heal it directly. It might be about trying to find the root cause. We understand that anger gets held in the joints. That's something that has been expressed not only through our fields, but in a scientific community as well. Energy, again, pooling and gathering. Point is that we do have contracts that we still have to follow out. If I'm destined to die of cancer, then I'm going to die of cancer.
That's right. That's part of your contract. That's the thing where you die, you go to heaven, your angels and and God work on you, and you come up with a contract, and then you're reborn, your memory's erased, and you try to achieve that contract in that lifetime. I feel I have done that.
And if you don't, guess what? You're going to do it again, okay? But you might not remember that you did it 20, 30, 40 times, and Spirit's not going to judge you. They'll just say, okay, sure. But the thing is, and of course, we have to speak in a linear sense in a lot of ways, because that is what the mind likes to wrap its way around.
Okay.
If you if you're bringing yourself into, hold on, I was going somewhere with this.
Okay. You're like me.
No, absolutely. I mean, of course, this happens when we get deep in. Long story short here, you have to honor those contracts regardless of what's going on. And I can't remember exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, so we'll get there. It'll come back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Shit.
Okay. Charismatic leader, is a hero, most willing to take risks, willing to die for a cause. Warrior, leader, motivator, goddess, leadership, passion, and commitment. And then there's something called the higher and lower self. Basically, on your first 3 chakras, that is the earth plane. Chakras 4 through 7, there's actually 12 chakras. I'm not going to go through it. Where are you? This, from the school, is a picture of a soul map. There's 5 other chakras that are in the aura field. I'm not going to describe them, but they are all points that talk about the soul. Spiritual life purpose point, soul point, physical life point, which are exactly what Michael was just talking about. There's a higher and lower self. So the lower self are the first 3 chakras, which are, should I describe where they are?
Sure. Why not? I
Right
mean,
at the sacrum, right at the
Yep.
sacrum, in between, right in your belly, and then your belly button is the second. Just below the ribs is your third. So each person has their own combination of first. Let's go. Chakras can vary, being healthy or wounded. Each chakra has an archetype or a flavor of personality type. You can live in defense, or this is not what I'm looking for. Upper and lower selves cannot exist without each other. So your first 3 earth chakras need the upper spiritual, and the spiritual needs the earth plane. They are both meshed together, and they depend on each other. So as you move up higher from the earth plane to the upper, you have the energy. Your energy pulls mind and spirit down if you're going down. That's called the current of liberation, of freedom and expansion. As you move, if you move up, energy is pulled up, and that's called the current of manifestation. You manifest form, density, boundaries, and individuality if you're moving up the chakra plane.
Do these planes of the soul, and before I jump on that, Walt Corbin says, this lady friggin' rocks! So you've got lots of support from the chat tonight, and I wanted to just put that on you real quick.
All right.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so within the planes of the soul and the different levels that you're speaking, we understand that many different modalities or thought processes have been observed in way of even using some of these planes or levels and calling them a different name. So, for example, the shamanic world has, a mid-level, a lower level, and the vibration and frequency go on from that, but there are subjugated areas within that particular thing. Are we talking about the same thing? Can we access this in the same way using different modalities, or do we have to follow the paths that you have traversed yourself?
This is just full spectrum healing.
Okay.
And there are many modalities, and I'm almost sure it's like the whole world believes in God, but everybody has their own version of what God is. So I can't really comment on that. I'm not trained to be a shaman or Buddhist or
as much as you know. That's all we can really talk about, as much as we know.
I think that everything is divine. Everything is all energy and frequency are divine, and then there's divine energy, and then there's regular energy. There's something called God consciousness energy, and when a soul is born, I got this from one of my teachers. You take a cup of the God consciousness energy, and this is God in heaven making a soul. You just dip a cup of that God conscious energy, and you mix it, and then you actually make a human mind and a human body, and the baby's born, and that cup of God conscious energy is put into that baby at that time after the contracts have been made, and you grow up with the contracts subconscious unless you reach the 3rd and 4th realm. And if you do, then you realize what your contracts are and what your life purpose is. If you go a little bit higher, you'll recognize your soul purpose as well.
I like how you describe that.
The school helps to do that.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate for a moment, if you don't mind, and ask you flat out, within your education and the modality that you've adapted, okay, we're talking about archetypes, we're talking about the levels of the soul, we're talking about the analogy that you just sprung forth there. What is the history to this particular practice? Who came up with the archetypes in way of the chakras and defined those personalities. Do you have any insight on that? And you may not, because some of these traditions are very, very long. So
Rhys Thomas is a third generation Barbara Brennan healing science teacher. He went to that school. He also went to an energy school in Connecticut. He's a genius. I can only comment on this. Repeat the question.
Essentially, I was asking where all of this information within the modality and the practice that you've adapted came from. So what was the history that they taught you? Like, who came up with, or where was it derived that we
There's
have
something called
archetypes?
bioenergetics
Okay.
that Rhys talks about.
Okay.
And also there was, it's not Carl Jung, there was some psychiatrist, or I don't remember, it was from school. There was a lecture in school talking about where the chakras came from, where the archetypes came from. Rhys would be able to answer that a lot better than I would. But basically, it was probably somebody like Carl Jung came up with some type of bioenergetic system that developed this. And I was about to talk about the chakras because that's the main part of full spectrum.
Sure.
I'm only going to talk about the 7 rather than the full 12.
And that, by the way, we'll repeat that. There are more than 7, folks.
Yes.
I mean, this is what we see on the models, but there are 12 in reality.
So Chakra 1 is to be here on Earth. The color is red. The purpose is foundation. It's at the base of the spine. It's you in the physical world. The demon of it, or the dark shadow of it. Everything has a light side. Everything has a dark side. The demon is fear. If you're balanced, before you do a healing on a client, we use a pendulum, and we do a reading on the chakras. And this is how we know. This is a pendulum here, in case you're really new. And we do this over each chakra. And oh wow, this is even spinning for me. You can tell whether the chakra is round. If it's round, it's healthy. If it is elliptical, or if it's going backwards, a healthy chakra is around in a circle going clockwise. If it's going backwards, or if it's flat or elliptical or very small, it's unhealthy, which means there's memory wounding or trauma. We call it wounding. That's trauma from your childhood that's embedded in your cellular memory. That will indicate that's something you have to work on. So,
do you know why it spins in a clockwise fashion as opposed to a counterclockwise with health versus non-health? And Mysteria Dragonheart, thank you.
Works. I just know it works.
You just know it works. I mean, but this is something you're visualizing too, not only within the sessions, but you're visualizing this when you're going through your training. I think that helps a lot of us. And when I started working with Reiki, of course, I had a background in healing energy as it was. I was a little off-put by the fact that we were using symbols, but when I understood that these were trigger symbols to open up a certain stream of energy or gain access, eventually I didn't need to use the symbols anymore. I could just access the energy, but it takes time and familiarity to go through that. Mysteria Dragonheart, thank you so much for your $1.49 super chat. I appreciate you. And of course, longtime supporter of the show, as many of you are tonight. I see you all in the chat.
I like
and
the
of course,
dragon.
I appreciate it. She's awesome. I'm going to be honest with you. She's been around a long time. She's a fantastic woman from Australia. Sent me a video of a possum the size of a kangaroo scaling one of these telephone poles outside somebody's home down there. I couldn't believe it. So, yes, thank you very much.
Back to
chakras. Yes.
2. Chakra 2 is to feel. It's water. The subject is water. The color is orange. It's connection to the lower abdomen. It's connected to the sacral plexus. And the demon is guilt. You have the right to feel pleasure. Balanced, it's graceful and emotional intelligence, ability to experience pleasure. Deficiency is fear of sex, poor social skills, lack of passion. Excess is addiction, excessively strong emotions. Chakra 3 is to act. So we have to be here, to feel, and to act is chakra 3. It's yellow. It's at the solar plexus. It's ego identity. This is your ego, your self-definition, fire. Balanced, you're responsible, reliable, and balanced, and effective will. Deficiency, low energy, weak will, easily manipulated. Excess, overly aggressive and controlling. So that's the ground. That's the earth plane. The third and fourth realms start at the fourth chakra. The fourth chakra is to love. The fourth chakra is your soul connection. It is air. The color of the energy is green. The purpose is love. It's you're balanced, and it's in your chest. Relationship, devotion. The demon or the opposite dark side is grief. I'm just going to speed this up. Chakra 5 is your communication.
Take your time. If it's worth explaining.
Located at your throat. It's indigo blue. It's to speak. It's sound purification, communication, creativity, listening, finding your voice. And like I said, it's indigo, but it's also it's bright blue. Balanced, you have a resonant voice. You're a good listener. You have rhythm and clear communication. Deficient, you fear to speak. You have a small, weak voice. I'm a singer and I talk, so I guess I'm not deficient. Excess, you talk too much. Maybe I'm being in excess here. You have the inability to listen. Chakra 6 is to see. This is where this is divine light. The demon is illusion, but the color here is indigo. It's in your forehead. This is your third eye, which is right here. Self-reflection. This establishes personal identity, intuitive perception. You visualize. Deficient, insensitivity, poor vision, poor memory. Excess, hallucinations, delusions, obsessions. The seventh chakra, here you are, divine. This is pure divine light. And that is still a chakra that it's up here. This is where all divine energy that when I heal, I call from up here. The element is thought. The name is 1,000-fold. This is the highest frequency of energy. The frequencies of energy from the first chakra go up in frequency as you get to the seventh chakra. This is the highest frequency other than the 5 ones that are in your aura. Those are even higher than your seventh chakra. So the name is 1,000-fold. The purpose is understanding. The color is violet. The location is the cerebral cortex. The demon is attachment. And the basic right is to know and learn. Balanced, perceive, analyze, assimilate information, intelligent, thoughtful. Deficiency, spiritual cynicism, rigid belief systems, excess, over-intellectualization, spiritual addiction. I might be a little guilty of that because I'm just going to tell my psychic opening. I was working with my 30-year psychic, who is Lisa Campion. She was the dean of students at the school for 12 years. She's written 2 books. She's working on her third. Where are you? I don't have it. Do I have it? Yeah. Hey, Lisa. This is Lisa Campion's most recent book, Energy Healing for Empaths. She's working on a third. Basically, where was I going? I was working with her, and I really wanted to know who my spirit guides were. So basically, I just did a spirit guide meditation. I can't remember the name of the woman that did it, but it was a really deep spirit guide meditation, and I just put myself into a trance, and I just really relaxed, and I was really almost floating. I used to have flying dreams when I was a kid, and I almost put myself in that state where I was really light, and I could feel that floating sensation energetically. And I asked,
you still have them?
I don't do my dreams. I don't remember them, but I do remember definitely flying dreams as a kid. There was a row of pine trees that were like 200 years old in my backyard. And I would sit there and I would look at them. I'd be laying in my backyard. This is my dream. And I would just start to get hot. And then I would feel lighter. And there would be a pink aura around me. And then I would start to float. And then I would float above like 50 feet above the top of those pine trees. And then I would look down on my childhood house and I could see what was going on in the house. And I never forgot that. I had that about 25 times, that
Was it
flying dream.
nighttime or daytime or dusk in the dream? Do you recall?
It was daytime.
Interesting.
It was daytime. But anyway, so there I am almost in a trance. And I asked, who are you? And I got a voice that said, you never said goodbye to me. That was my grandmother who had passed. And only she and I would know that. So I said, oh my God, I'm talking to a spirit. I'm talking to my passed on grandmother.
Confirmation.
And honestly, that opened the door psychically for me. And I talk to my guides all the time. It's unhealthy to talk to them more than 15 minutes, 4 times a day. That's what Lisa taught me. And I put them on a pedestal. Don't do that. I honestly would ask them simple questions. They're not there to help you run your life. You are in charge. This is what Lisa was teaching me. You are in charge of your guides. You make your choices. You make your decisions. You can ask them for advice, but they're not there to run your life. Don't put them on a pedestal. Don't let them run your life. But my life purpose is to heal myself from my illness, then heal others. And my goal is to try to help people with MCS and autoimmune illness and heal them through energy healing so that they know what they have and they know there's hope and they know, and I don't mean heal it, I mean
Right.
help to heal it.
I thought a lot about what you said because we discussed some of these concepts in our personal conversations prior to the show. I thought a lot about what you had mentioned when it came to guides and how people may lean on them.
Right.
My thought is very similar to your mentors, but I think in understanding that we're all one, and of course there's nobody in this world even who can tell you how to live your life the way that perhaps you intended on living it before you came down here, because more often than not we are experiencing that journey. And yes, we are making the decision to go right, left, up, down, whatever the case may be. We have the free will of direction and freedom of choice. So what the guides will always be there to do is to show you the best outcome based on your decisions, and then you just decide what you want to do.
That's absolutely
I'm
correct.
simplifying it, quite a lot,
Absolutely
but I think
correct.
that's the concept. Denbub, thank you so much for the $6.99 super chat. I very much appreciate you. It's a beautiful sunset. Makes me want to grab an apple juice with some ice and sit back and enjoy. Thanks very much, mate.
To summarize, here we go. Chakra 1, family tribe. Chakra 2, sex, money, emotions, and passions. Chakra 3, self-esteem, ego. Chakra 4, relationships, love, your connection to your soul. Chakra 5 is communication, self-expression. Chakra 6 is here, vision, mind, belief. Chakra 7 is infinite abundance, connection to spirit. Archetypes are also important. Where am I going to go to summarize this? Everyone has 4 basic archetypes in common. After that, they're individual based on your soul type. So there's child, victim, prostitute, and saboteur. Child is just like when you're born. The moment you're born, that's the child archetype. Babies are pure. They haven't been programmed by their parents, by having schooling, by... and Rhys also teaches that if you can reach a state of pure childlike, that is the frequency of love, and that is almost what being divine energy feels like. Victim, that everybody knows what that was. I was a victim throughout most of my life, and I learned what I did learn with that, and that's one of my main archetypes. I'm a wounded healer. Pain, you have a contract. Everything happens for a reason. I was meant to be a victim, to learn what pain and being a victim is, to learn to be a survivor, to overcome it, you all right there?
Oh yeah, just switching windows.
So I was a victim and I learned to overcome it. And pain is a touchstone of progress. Being a victim shows you what the negative is, so that you can move on, heal, and become positive.
One of the beautiful things, too, I'm going to mention as you bring that up, is that all of this seems very permanent. You know, you lose an arm, you have an operation, you know, something happens with you physically, even mentally, emotionally, whatever the case may be. In this dimension right now, the duality that we sit in, it seems permanent. But guess what? It's not. We're really playing a part based on those agreements and contracts, whatever we decide to experience. I've said this many times before, folks, and you've heard me say it here and on other shows, and that is my belief that the soul itself, in its pure essence, is benign. It just wants the experience. What you and I deem as preferable comes in the way of the mind, comes in the way of ego, comes in the way of environment. You name the factors, they're all there. But we start with just the idea that we want to experience, regardless of what we think about that experience while we're having it. I want to emphasize that.
That sounds great. So basically, I was sick, but you become the opposite. It teaches you what to become to be positive. And I have a spirituality now from going to church, from what the school taught me, and from what my guides share with me. I feel in the moment with humility and gratefulness in the moment, using mindfulness, just being in the moment to accept what the universe has to offer me is what I feel who I am. I don't worry about the past. It's done. The future, I don't have control of. It's written. It's already written. It's in the contract. So I know to accept what that contract is in the moment. And that's how I live my life. I don't worry about, I had a friend that said, well, what are you going to do now? And it's like, just accept what's now. Just be present in the moment, and your life will unfold divinely in front of you.
Because James Spice puts out a very good point. This is something that we often forget, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be grateful to a specific entity. You can just be grateful that you have breath in your lungs and you might have food on your table. That gratefulness, whatever that energy may actually be, does spiral back to you. And I'll be honest with you, in working with, Rich from GoofOn, working with Third Phase of Moon and some of these other guys, Dr. J Radio Live, Apollo Asteria, you guys know all these faces. We use Thoughts Manifest actively. And that's one of the ways to get there quicker than not, is to just be grateful in the moment. That's right. Without being specific.
I actually wrote this down, and I was thinking about this the other day. Gratitude is that spirit of innocent thankfulness where I live it in the moment with love and humility. Then the universe responds. And that's something I just wrote for myself. I don't know if it's coming from my guides, but like when I post stuff on Facebook, what comes to me, I write with that picture, and that came to me. But
I like that.
Like chakras and profiles, archetypes are energy vortexes that show you what your life purpose is, where you are when you're in your core. When you're in your core, all your chakras are open and you're in your spirituality. If not, you're living in damaged illness because your chakras are damaged. They can be flat, squished, shattered. I had a shattered third eye. Your life purpose is to attach what you are here in each moment. To know your life purpose, you must have a broader picture of who you are, your gifts, why are you here in this time and space. When you know your profile, chakras, and archetypes, you'll develop amazing personal insight, energy, power, clarity, and a deep sense of purpose that is unbendable and non-negotiable. That means you've realized what your contracts are. That contract is unbendable and non-negotiable. It is set by the angels, and you are here to achieve it. This is because I just said it. The biggest archetype and the highest vibration in your life is your soul. It's purity. It is the first filter that separates individual consciousness from God consciousness. Each person carries one pure core quality: power, compassion, love. The soul makes certain spiritual contracts. We discussed it before you were born. The chakras are lifelong guides to discover and live fully your life purpose. To understand the chakras, you need to understand the archetypes, and vice versa. All archetype energies and patterns that move through you in some way serve the soul. These are filters. They are energy filters. When they're open, you express your core qualities in a unique direction in each moment. When they're closed, you're not in your core. You're living cellular memory illness. Okay. Okay. If the filters are closed, damaged chakra, you're living in pain. You become disconnected from the divine energy. You live in your shadow profile. Human archetypes are consciousness structures that exist on the earth plane. Archetypes help you know who you are, how you recognize your life purpose throughout your life. The 12 chakras are also archetypal, represent conscious realms of body, feelings, actions, and relationships. Each chakra is guided by an archetype. It gives the chakra its focus. Everything that comes at you through that filter is important. If you don't have a chakra for certain experiences, you won't experience them. It depends on what your chakras are, other than the 4 basic that we talked about.
That's curious.
This combination of energy bodies gives you the power to choose to honor your soul in your core. And if you're not, then you're living in defense, as Rhys would put it. Wounds, trauma, traumatic childhood, painful memories actually can be submerged, and you don't realize that you're not living in your core because it's submerged until these emotions come out. When they do come out, I'll say it, I saw a therapist and worked on myself.
Sure.
And now I'm aware of what my character flaws are. I know what my triggers are. I don't act on them. I will think about it, act the next day, pray about it, and then if I act on it, I think about it with divine, with my angels, and think about it before I act, because I firmly believe in keeping and respecting space of everybody. Everybody is sacred. Your soul is your soul. Respect everyone as their own space, as my space. Treat everyone as you would treat yourself.
And the concepts are really that simple. I mean, we think that it's something much more involved. I want to bring up this question that KM had, but I'm going to come back to that in just a moment because I have Third Phase of Moon saying, hey, Dark Hour Paranormal, we just made it to Oahu.
Cool.
We will be seeing our dad tomorrow before he has his procedure. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, and I think a lot of you I saw in Goof On a little bit earlier, and you've been following along, the Third Phase of Moon's father has been having some health issues and was sent to the hospital. I believe it was either Thursday night or Friday, and on Tuesday he's having surgery on his heart. So all good energy, whatever prayers you have, anything you can put out for Third Phase of Moon's father, it would be helpful, and we would appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm done talking about archetypes, soul types, and chakras. I hope that was okay and you guys understood it. I was going to share some of my healing experiences with you.
Sure. Let me just address that quick comment or the question that KM had before you jump into that. I'll let you jump on this one first, and I'll give my 2 cents. It says, can you die and come back to your same body?
I don't think so. I don't know. I really don't know.
That's a very.
I know I'm psychic. Do you want me to ask them?
Listen, whatever you'd like to do, it all lies in the world of conjecture until we're proven otherwise.
Big fat no.
Okay. And I'm going to give you my 2 cents on this one. Okay, so what I've understood is that there are circumstances, and they may be mitigating based on certain factors, whether this is something you can have in way of experience or not.
They just said yes in certain circumstances.
Well, there you have it. We aren't too far away from who we work with, even in the ethereal here. But that being said, because time is not linear and space is not exactly the way we understand it to be, it has been told to me point blank that, for example, in the case of a suicide, if somebody had the gun, pulled the trigger, they could very well, given on their contracts and what time they might have left and the players involved, may be offered another chance wherein you literally go back to that moment just before you pull the trigger and you make a different decision. You may have no awareness of what happened prior to, but you're offered this other chance. Now, I would say that there had to be some sort of stipulation or something else that you would either, and sacrifice is not the right word, but it would cost you something, maybe time, maybe, I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing here.
You might move down the karmic cycle.
You may move down the karmic cycle. It wouldn't be a step up. It would be a mulligan, if you will. That's all it would be. And thank you for the question, Cam. I appreciate it.
One of the biggest things that gave me spirituality and gave me direction was reading Conversations with God.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he talks about the suicide in the first book.
He explained that there was no judgment, and that was a big deal back in the 90s when he released that first volume. It blew people's socks right off in way of everything that he addressed in there, even masturbation, which, you know, a lot of people find, oh, it's a sinful act and what have you. If it was a sinful act, it wouldn't be natural, and what you would consider as God wouldn't allow you to have that option. There is no judgment from the other side, guys. The judgment comes from this side, and that's it.
I agree. So I was healing a classmate. We were doing a past life healing. And in my mind, I saw a 4 generations back grandmother, a ball, period dress, ball and chain, and an axe. And at the end of the healing, this just came from me. And I was like, and I was really beginning to see what my psychic ability was. The ball and chain was a curse that was placed on a great great grandmother. That curse was carried generation to generation. The axe was meant to break the ball and chain or the curse so that future generations were healthy. Mm-hmm. And I told her that, and she was like, oh my God. And she said she dedicated herself to breaking that ball and chain and breaking that curse. And being as well trained as we are, I'm sure she broke that curse and broke that ball and chain and moved forward. Where was I going to go? I was going to go somewhere. We talked about distance healing, and I just feel like I'm floating in a pillow of energy, and I just feel warm. And I think it's almost feeling love when you're floating in divine energy. You just feel so happy and so joyous that I know I'm surrounded by love. Like I said, when I'm doing a healing full spectrum, I concentrate on what I'm doing. If my mind strays, and if I start talking to myself, I got, quiet, please, we're working. That's my angels. They're actually, what they do, it's very serious work. My angels have feelings. They deeply, deeply love you. They care about you. They advise, like, I need to be on a special diet. Maribeth, please don't eat that. Things like that. They really are your guides. They really love you. They don't experience anger, but they say, we're disappointed. They're patient. They're infinite. When Lisa was working with me, she saw 3 huge, very bright lights. And she said they were very old. And extremely humble. And that was Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, and Archangel Gabriel. Those are my 3 angels. And then the 4th one was my grandmother, who had completed the karmic cycle, and she's a teacher in heaven. There is a book. Hold on. We read this in the school. Hold on. No, this way. Journey of Souls, Michael Newton. He's a hypnotist, a PhD hypnotist. He hypnotized people beyond when they were born, back to when they were in heaven. And I don't know, 200 people, something like that. He was able to discern the structure of heaven based on taking people prior to their contract. And souls are made in groups. So you have soulmates. There's like 5 or 6 souls that you meet or that you are traveling through the karmic cycle with. And God creates you together so that those 5 souls are your soulmates throughout the karmic cycle. At least that's what I understand. And I got that from that book. That it's one of the books that we read. So I actually met one of my soulmates, and this is how I know it works. My brother is an executive chef. He's very talented. He was working in Bar Harbor at one of those old, like the Mount Washington Inn, one of those old, big, old-fashioned vacation inns that they used to have in the 1800s. And a lot of times foreign students would come over and work, for the summer. My brother met this woman from Romania. She was beautiful. She was model. She was very intelligent. She's also extremely empathic. And she feels, what does she do? She's empathic. She can feel feelings. She's a lot more psychic than I am, that I can feel it. I hadn't met her. We were at a party at my brother's house. We looked at each other and we went, my mouth fell open. Oh my God. The energy connection between the two of us was incredible. I just felt like a shot of energy through me, both of us. And we just walked towards each other and we started talking super fast. Are you feeling what I'm feeling? Is this real? Oh my God. I feel soul energy. So do I. We're soulmates and we love each other.
It's right off the bat too. It's not like you have a conversation and get to know each other. You feel it.
You feel it.
It's an incredible experience.
And you know that person deeply. And that's how I know soulmates are real. I've actually found one.
And you know what? If you decide or you have the opportunity to begin to work with them on this level, because sometimes soulmates may not have the same contracts that overlap with yours during this lifetime.
Right.
However, they're still here. So guess what? Is arbitrary as it sounds in certain ways of experience, you may decide to meet in a local coffee shop one time and just, cross paths, or maybe you see them later in life when you're, much older and you happen to recognize this person. It may be fleeting, but they're certainly there with us, and those who cannot be with us, including twin flames and other soulmates, they still hang around or check in depending on what their decision is and their contract with your life here. They just couldn't necessarily be in the physical world with you at this particular point in time
because of the contract.
Because of the contracts, and that's certainly honored, and I certainly don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's very astute, if I may make the comment here, for spirit to still give its all from that side, not allowed to be involved at that point. You can feel that there is some, it's not pain, but it's a missing, like almost like I miss you. And occasionally these will come into your dreams as well, but that's a conversation for another time. But Aussie Tiger, Third Phaser, Goofonian Rock Fam, fantastic name, I've always loved it. She says, Maribeth, I'm not feeling any love in my life. What would you suggest I do? I have trouble meditating, so apart from drugs, I don't know what to do. What would you give in way of advice to somebody in Aussie's position? She.
Meditate some more. Develop your spirituality. Live in the moment. Learn to love yourself and accept yourself. The spirituality is key. It's not a religion. It's an acceptance of yourself with love, with divine boundaries, and feeling the God consciousness within you. You need to find that.
I think a lot of people have trouble getting that first foot off the ground, and maybe the second and third, before they start realizing this is a real experience that can be persistent within their lives. And of course, from that point on, for many of us, learning to love ourselves is an eons long endeavor. Aussie, my suggestion would be to start small. So for example, when we don't feel that we're loved, usually, as Maribeth is certainly directing here, it has to be self-love. You have to love yourself first. It's really where it comes from. No one else can love you truly if you don't love yourself. It's the same way as if you don't know yourself, somebody can't really know you either. So I would suggest starting with your thoughts. Catch those little negative thoughts that come around during the day. Maybe there's something self-deprecating. Maybe it's, putting something out towards a situation you'd rather not go to, but you have to anyway. Look at it a different way and be active about that. So for example, when we talk about thoughts manifesting, again, taking one, compartmentalized aspect of your life. Let's say you're going to a meeting this day with some superiors for your work. You're not looking forward to this meeting, and there's a chance it could go either one way or another. Regardless, what you're going to do is just imagine the outcome. Imagine yourself being there, shaking hands, smiling, and just bask in that glow. Don't get logical about it. Just envision it and feel as if it's already happened. How would you feel if they gave you the promotion that you're going to the meeting for and it didn't go the other way? That's how you start making it real before it manifests. So start small, my friend, is what I would
Law
suggest.
Law of attraction, what you put out is what you receive. That is absolutely real. And I feel it with my guides. You attract what you put out. And all of us, like all my classmates are, Maribeth, you're going to rock this, put it out there. And I did. I meditated and I prayed and I said, I'm going to be myself. And this feels awesome. There's two other things that I can share psychically from my teacher, from some of the, Lisa Campion, when she was working with me. She said, Maribeth, this is the soulmate that I met. She told me in a previous lifetime that both her name, I'm not going to mention her name, let's say Sue and I were Mayan priestesses. We were priestesses in a Mayan temple, and that's how we knew each other. And I've gotten dreams where I was a preacher and I was thrown overboard because the people didn't believe what I was saying. And then my MCS, I was working in a top hat factory, like they called Mad Hatter disease. The old top hats that Abe Lincoln wore were made with mercury. So that carried down my ancestral line, and that's where my MCS came from, was working in a top hat factory where they used mercury.
That's incredible. You know, the implications are otherworldly, and that's why we talk about this stuff, because there is more than likely a very strong rope, not a thread, but a rope of truth to what's being spoken about here. But with every concept, folks, we're just unbraiding that quilt, lined with so many different, threads that create our physical fabric and our mental and emotional fabrics as well. We're going to get a very good picture of what the larger scale of things looks like as we do the self-work. This is where it becomes evident from the self-work, and then you start seeing things much differently, and next thing you know, like Maribeth has mentioned here, the law of attraction, you attract what you put out. You put out negativity, you walk around angry, you're going to find those conflicts. And then you're going to more than likely be upset and call yourself a victim, the whole world's against me, but that's what you're putting out. And again, I'm just looking at this in the more negative respect for the way of impact in light of the conversation. It's pretty stark.
I have a couple prayers, but there's one that's kind of long, but it describes what a healer does and what the healer's role is to the client. My role is to guide clients on the right course of their unique path. It is not to fix them when they suffer. I'm there shining a light and offering direction. Most emotional pain doesn't lift immediately, so I honor the different phases of healing. I don't rush my clients because I'm uncomfortable with their pain. I don't indulge their wallowing in it. I don't take responsibility for their growth. It is the client's job to change and grow. Mine is to inspire the process and help them listen to the wisdom of their intuition along the way. This attitude allows me to be a conduit of healing and protects me from absorbing the struggles and of pain from my client. I'm a guide. I am a conduit. I give you divine energy to help you find your path and your healing. I don't heal. The divine energy does. I guide it to you. I love this. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you be awakened to the light of your own nature. May you be healed. May you be a source of healing for all beings. There's another one. Your soul speaks in frequency and vibration, not in words. Stop talking to it, but feel it. And that comes from Rhys as well. Mm-hmm. Every person and situation that ever happened in life that lost energy in life can take it back. Intention is the only thing that exists. Understand without judgment. There's one other thing that kind of describes the soul-human relationship. Rhys Thomas developed this. It's called 4D healing. There's 4 secrets. All healing is self-healing. You move imbalanced energy to balanced energy. You bring energy and spirit into alignment to bring about healing, including the deeper levels of self-healing. We have a very complex energy body with many physical parts and many energy levels. The chakras are energy centers which affects everything in life. Example, self-esteem, connection with spirit, ego, pride, love. The energy field expands outward. Toxicity is in the energy body is very unhealthy. It can actually kill you. You must heal the body and energy toxicity at the same time using the chakras. That would be full spectrum energy healing. The painful traumatic events from childhood will block your chakras, and this creates illness. A simple shift in chakra energy can help heal the trauma. And that's what full spectrum does. The body energy map is how energy moves through you and the spiritual centers. There's 2 dimensions. There's no, I'm not going to read that. There's 4 levels of energy consciousness, or the soul map, which I showed you before. Level 1 is your body mind. Level 2, blocks in energy or character flaws. What your parents taught you is not really what you should have been taught. Level 3 is energy consciousness, and in getting into levels 3 and 4. 80% of the human potential and energy is stored in levels 3 and 4. Level 4 is the soul level, and the chakras connect to all humanity. Example, life purpose line, the purpose to connect people with the chakras. This purpose is unbendable, like we said, unbendable, non-negotiable because of the contract. Healing is remembering the soul essence. So when you're healing with full spectrum, you're using divine energy through the chakras, and you're using the soul essence to heal. So all 4 levels described above are just one thing. They're all layered on top of each other. So your energy body contains all of this and is layered in one energy body. You must move beyond your day-to-day problems. You use your character flaws will shut down the chakras. You have to be in your core. You need all your chakras open. So the meridians are both energy lines on following down the spinal cord, and the 7 chakras are innervated. Major bundles of nerves are for each chakra. Each chakra spins at an energy frequency which increases as you get to the 7th chakra. It's 1,000 petal fold. So if you're living in your flaws, you're going to shut down. You won't achieve spirituality, and you're in pain. And that's my job, to help you find your spirituality by opening all the chakras. You have to transcend levels 3 and 4. If you're talking to your guides, you've been awakened. I guess I have been.
I think you have, and you know what? I think this conversation has been incredibly enlightening. I've seen many people feeding back in such positive responses in the chat. They really enjoy everything you've shared with us tonight, Maribeth. Before we go, because I know we went a little bit over what we had allotted, but that's totally fine with me as long as it's okay with you. Yeah. I'd like you to just express very quickly, as we spoke in the beginning of the show, where we can find you and perhaps where we could look to you for your services. We understand you're based out of Massachusetts. I do have plenty of folks who follow the channel from Massachusetts. So
probably can't see that. That's my business card.
A little tough.
Yeah, a little tough.
Just let us know exactly where you are, and
I'm on Instagram. I have an ad on Google right now. I'm on Instagram. I'm also on Yelp. Basically, I'm Phoenix Rising Energy Healing. My website is maribethbeauchamp.com. And that's pretty much it. Phoenix Rising Energy Healing. And on Facebook, I do have a page, Phoenix Rising Energy Healing, Maribeth Beauchamp. I changed the posts on that page. That links to my website, and you just click from that page, you'll get my website. It's short and sweet, but it's very complex, but my website's short and sweet. So
Absolutely. I had no problem navigating it when I came across it. I was very impressed by what you had explained there on the website as well. If you guys enjoyed what you heard tonight, please go and check out some of her other peripheral work. She does go again into detail about these topics that we've discussed tonight. And of course, it's very hard to talk about something so large in such a short amount of time, but I think Maribeth did a fantastic job summarizing all of these very difficult concepts to impart. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Maribeth, I want to thank you for being on the show. Hang out for a second if you can.
Okay.
I'll say my proper goodbyes off camera,
Okay.
but for the time being, I'm just going to take you off and we'll do the outro here, all right?
Michael, thank you so much. I enjoyed it. It was a
Hey,
pleasure.
thank you. It's my pleasure's all mine, let me tell you. Thank
Okay.
you so much. You know, I love working with this particular aspect of our fields. Of course, you know, my history with healing energy, it was nothing named at the time that I started working with it. And of course, the modality of Reiki has been around at least since the 60s, 70s, when I forget the woman's name who really brought this to light. But long story short, it was a very coveted modality and people didn't necessarily have access to it. But today, we see this now falling into the hands of your common man, and that's where we want it to be, empowering the layman. So we can get rid of the word layman, and we can go to educated, intelligent, experienced, you name it. So what Maribeth has brought to us tonight is certainly just one avenue, and you can tell as she presents this information that she is highly educated within the particular exercise and practice that she's talking about. And with that, we have some people that have this foundation, that have this grounding. You know, if she allows me to invite her back on the show again, I'll ask her a little bit more about the anatomy and the physiology and way of how that works with healing, because I do understand and I've seen, though I haven't gone through the schools of Reiki, I have known people who have taken that more formal route. And sure enough, they're in there studying anatomy and physiology. So I can see how this would work and really benefit somebody. But again, when it comes to intuition, are you using more of that logical aspect of yourself, or are you just intuitively guiding? And, you know, does it make sense to have that kind of understanding of physicality in order to do this work? But again, I'm throwing questions that we will be addressing in the future, certainly. But once again, folks, I want to thank you for joining us here tonight. This is the official new time slot, 11 o'clock p.m., 8 o'clock Pacific. And we're going to stick with this, whether I'm at the day job or not, folks. Here we go. I'm going to bring up the outro. Thank you so much to all my moderators tonight, all you fantastic super chatters. I really appreciate your support. Of course, every last penny goes right into the show itself. And as you know, I'll be heading down to Hawaii earlier this coming year, actually. I think it's in March. If not April. Got to check the schedule again, but I'm going to go and spend some time with third phase of moon, as you well imagined. And of course, we're going to get into what we do, bringing you the best in ufology and the most current in the field that we explore. Before we go, very quickly, thank you so much, Den Bub. Did I see another super chat up here from Aussie? Aussie, I think I saw another super chat. I might have missed it. Sorry. Thank you so much for your $1.49. And Denbub, $6.99. Guys, thank you so much. Really, from the bottom of my heart, it really helps out. And eventually, one of these days, I promise, one of these days, we'll be back full time. And I will be here with you 6-7 nights a week, if you can handle it. All right, guys, have a fantastic rest of your evening. Get this going here. Until next time, ciao. And cheerio! Third phase of moon probably has a video coming up tonight. Stay tuned.